All right, all praise, glory, and honor is most certainly due to the Most High. Yah, Elohim of the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I want to say peace to each and every one of you in the name of the Son. I'm kind of a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to bring a message that's contained in the Word. I'm always thankful to do that. In this lesson, I want to deal with something that, quite frankly, I've been hearing a lot about in the in the culture, if you will, and that is pertaining to, living a soft life, and the notion, the trope, if you will, that women are supposed to basically not do any work at all. And in some way that has been shown in the sense of men providing. Yes, men are supposed to provide. You look at the example of manhood, certainly provided protection. But to be as many women will profess to be virtuous, that is not a soft life at all. And you know that when you look at the example of, or the picture, I will say, of the virtuous woman that is found in the wisdom writings, that is found in the book of Proverbs. So, I want to go over that, and this whole notion that, quite frankly, that there are just an abundance of good women, good virtuous women. I don't even think people understand really what virtue means in this regard and what the word means here. It's just not the case, and the text even shows you that. This is a standard of womanhood that, quite frankly, is not often met. Okay, so we want to pick it up, and peace to everybody that's listening. Peace to Brother Makai. I see you there, good brother. This is Proverbs, the 31st chapter here, and I want to pick it up at verse 10. Proverbs 31 and verse 10 reads, "Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies." Okay, so first and foremost, like I said just a moment ago, a virtuous woman you can't just find a virtuous woman everywhere. A woman that's going to be beneficial to a man is not found everywhere. Now, beautiful women are found, I won't even say everywhere, but way more often than a virtuous woman is found. Because beauty is a rarity, but it is even more rare to be a virtuous woman. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes and just see something here that a man who certainly knew something about women, had insight about women, Solomon, until his own demise. He said in Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter, in verse 8 and 28, "Which yet my soul seeketh, but I have found. Not one man among 1,000 have I found, but a woman among all those have I not found." Okay. So what is he talking about here? He's talking about the rarity of finding a particular type of woman. Okay. And he had 1,000 wives, 700 wives, 300 concubines. But now let's go back to Proverbs 31. He said, "Who can find a virtuous woman?" Now the word virtuous woman is speaking to a valiant, brave, like a valiant, brave woman has a particular type of character. Okay. Oftentimes we attach virtue to basically acting in an upright way in regard to sexuality. But if you notice, that's not really touched upon here. What it's talking about is a particular character trait that causes you to do things a certain way. Let's hold our finger here and go to the book of Ruth, because here is an example of the same type of woman, and the same word is used. Okay, and I say valiant because when you look in the Hebrew, Kayil, that word is valiant. One second here. This is the book of Ruth, chapter 3 and verse 11. It says, "And now, my daughter, fear not, I will do to thee all that thou requirest. For all the city and my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman." So now these are the words of Boaz that he spoke to Ruth, who who wanted him to fulfill eventually to fulfill the duty of the near kinsman, or the duty of brothers, what we would call the liberate law. Okay, because she was a widow. Okay, so somebody of a close kin, ideally a brother, was to marry her, and then he would take, in addition to taking care of her, he would raise up seed in his the deceased brother's name, and also that would go to that son would have an inheritance. So now, and so that name of the deceased wouldn't be blotted out of Israel. So he called her virtuous. But what made her virtuous? That wasn't about her. It wasn't about her not being promiscuous. What that was about was, look how Ruth operated. Number one, her husband died, and her sister-in-law husband died. He died, and she was left with her mother-in-law. Not her. She was not an Israelite, and her sister-in-law, she went back with her people, because the mother-in-law was like, hey, Naomi was like, look, I don't have any other sons, and if I could bring forth some sons, you're gonna wait till they get old enough to marry? So the one sister-in-law was like, yeah, you're right. But then what did Ruth do? She said, your people will be my people and your God will be my God. And then she went with her. Now that could have meant poverty amongst women was different than it was today. An impoverished woman has opportunities, in particularly in America, speaking from the context of America, that you didn't have certainly back here. You have Section 8, you have welfare, you have WIC. You can go down, certain scholarships for women. It's all kind of avenues that women can have, especially if you look a certain way, quite frankly. But that was not the case. It could mean destitution and poverty, and in the worst case is death. That's why prostitution back then was, in ancient times, that's why they call it the oldest profession, because women at times found themselves in that particular predicament. But even facing all of that, dire straits, what did she do? She chose to stay with her mother-in-law. And then if you notice, what was she doing? She was gleaning, which is in the law. That was for the poor. That was the welfare system that the Lord had in place. She was working extremely hard in doing that. And so the fact she showed great character and staying with her older mother-in-law, there was no ultimate outside benefit to doing that at that time. So that could be perceived. So she just did it out of her own integrity. And that's what's being shown here in the Proverbs 31, when it says virtue. That's what a virtuous woman is. Okay. So now let's go back there. So it says, who can find a virtuous woman? I'm in Proverbs 31 in verse 10. It says, for her price is far above rubies. Yeah, she's rare. She's rare because she can't, you just don't find her. Now it says something. It says the heart of a husband doth safely trust in her, that so that he shall have no need of spoil. Okay. So now, what is that talking about? That's talking about how the husband knows her character. And so he can trust in her not doing that which is wrong. It's kind of like there's a play called The Crucible, and then at one moment in there, and she actually failed in that part, but her whole life, the one character, she hadn't told a lie, and her husband was like, she cannot tell a lie. This is when he was in court, if you're familiar with the Arthur Miller piece. But that's because he had told she has a certain way. Okay, so he knows that she's going to do, and she's such a benefit that he doesn't have. It's not like he has a need of spoil. Okay, now let's pick it up at verse 12. It says, she will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. And that's something, because quite frankly, and I understand that quite frankly, what you see amongst women is an elevated state of hypergamy. And you see women marrying men just to take what they have eventually, and monkey branching from one to the next. What you see is a selfishness in American Western society that is celebrated and accepted on behalf of women, to the point where many men are questioning the prudence of even being married altogether, particularly through the state. That is something that men in general, not black men, or only a white man, only a Mexican man only, but men in America are really starting to consider that. You see that through the marriage rates. That's because when it's all said and done, it's not beneficial. But this type of woman, a virtuous woman, is going to be a benefit. It says but this woman is rare. It says she will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. And then it goes on to talk about something. It says she seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. See, this is not a soft life. This is not a life where I heard one, I'd say lost woman. I can't even say lady. Talking about she wants to be a woman of leisure. And that meant just sitting up, living off of a man, and absolutely, to her own words, providing no benefit. I think, when people, I don't think women realize you can actually be acting in certain ways that are closer to prostitution than wife. Okay. You want to be a kept woman that has absolutely no benefit. You're not adding your intelligence or insight into the contribution that you have, and for what you're asking is too lopsided. And you're delulu, all right? It's delusional, some of the things that I'm hearing. You just that I'm observing. Okay. And then at the same time, the criteria or the standard of what a good woman is all these arbitrary standards that have nothing to do with the text of the Bible, have nothing to do with just basic morals and principles. It has something to do with, you particularly look a certain way, and quite frankly, that's questionable with quite frankly some of the standards of what looks good, with the fake hair and the body modifications. And I heard one sister, she said something, and she was a modest sister. She said, makeup used to be for the dead. In some kind of way, and I don't know that to be true, but you see close. I saw, to put it in perspective, I saw a child at a 5-year-old graduation had nails 4 inches long with eyelashes looked like they were 5 inches long. Obesity. So this is, so that's what I'm saying. So the idea of you adding looks that's even fleeting, but it should be about your character. And that's what's being said here. That's what makes you a good woman. It's not these other things. Well, I have a PhD. Oh, that's congratulations. That's nothing to do with whether or not you'll be a good wife. Well, I have this great job. Hey, no problem. Now is the money you have, is that to build a household? Or is that money for your money? Is his money your money, and your money your money? Let's speak real today. I've seen a couple of instances where men have been in situations where they're struggling. They've been taking care of their wife, paying all the bills, and then lose a job or get sick. A couple of things I've seen happen. Seen women literally leave a man that's ill. And then I've seen it to where he's struggling, trying to find a job, about to lose a house, losing all these things, and didn't realize, come to find out, she's stacking all this money on the side that he doesn't know about. Secret account, doesn't know about it. That's all her money. Like I said, his money is your money. Your money is your money. That's not virtuous. Because a virtuous woman, as we read, her whole objective is to be a benefit to her husband and ultimately her household. So now in verse 13, it says, she seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. Again, she's not lazy. Let's see an example of this. Let's real quickly. Let's go to Genesis, the 24th chapter. Genesis 24, and we'll pick it up at verse 18. Notice the difference. This is not a soft life. These righteous examples that you see of womanhood. This is Genesis 24 and verse 18. Genesis 24 and verse 18. So now this is when the servant of Abraham is gone to find a wife for Isaac. And then as he's praying, the Lord answers his prayer and sends him Rebekah. And the prayer that he prays, he says, and let it come to pass that the damsel to whom I shall say, let down thy pitcher, I pray thee that I may drink. And she shall say, drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. That is an example of this virtue, if you will. The picture of a virtuous woman, one who was willing to work. He didn't say, and he was wise in doing that, because what woman is going to be a benefit? What woman is going to show character and integrity? So now it be and be a benefit to others. This is the wife that you would actually want. So now he's praying this, and then what does she say? Verse 18. It says, and she said, drink, my Lord. And she hasted and let down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw water for thy camels also until they have done drinking. I'm telling you, a woman like this is rare. So in that, first of all, he was a stranger. And in that sense, she's concerned. She's concerned about him. And if you've ever seen how much camels can drink, this is work she's doing. From her perspective, it's not like she's going to get any benefit or just she can give me some money at the end of this. No, this is not about. See, this is a far cry from women dating men only because and you and their phone as a free food. That's very different from that, right? But she working willingly with her hands. That's an example of that type of woman. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Let's go to see another example of this type of woman. Let's go to 1 Kings 9 and verse well, actually, let me go back a bit and let's read a little bit further, and then we'll go back to that. But we can look at it in Ruth, then we'll go back to Kings. Let's go to Ruth. Go back to Ruth and see what Ruth was, and see a woman actually, it's not like if men understood. I talked to quite a few men, and they, I'm starting to think maybe they don't like talk to me because I'm looking at it from the perspective of, I'm certainly not looking at what your wife looked like. I'm certainly not looking at things that don't matter. I'm looking at the situation from the perspective of the text. And so there's certain attributes that a woman has to have. And when you tell somebody, are you sure that's what you want to do? They get upset with you. Well, you shouldn't ask. Or they don't want to listen. Well, you shouldn't ask. Ruth, the 2nd chapter, and now you're going to be in for it. Ruth, the 2nd chapter, verse 2, it says, and Ruth the Moabite said unto Naomi, let me now go to the field and glean ears of corn after him in whose sight I shall find grace. And she said unto her, go, my daughter. And she went and came and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and her hat was too light on a part of the field belonging to Boaz, who was in the kindred of Abimelech. So she went, she had a mindset to do what? To glean, to do that. So she wasn't lazy. Okay, she was a wife already. And even though she wasn't married, she was already a wife, as somebody might say, material or that type of caliber. Proverbs 31 and verse 14. She is like the merchant ship. She bringeth her food from afar. Now let's go to 1 Kings. So what does he mean like a merchant ship from far? A merchant ship from far is bringing all the goods, so to speak. She has the goods. She has a benefit. This seeing a natural example of this. This is 1 Kings 9 and verse 26. It says, excuse me, I'm in the wrong chapter. 1 Kings 9 and verse 26. It said, and King Solomon made a navy of ships of Ezion Geber, which is beside Elah, on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen, that had knowledge of the sea with the servants of Solomon. And they came to Ophir, where the gold is well known in the Bible. It talks about the gold of Ophir. It says, and fetched from thence gold 420 talents and brought it to the king Solomon. See, that's when you're getting something from afar. Kind of like, hate to say it, but kind of like everything we got made in China. Everything we have is brought over in these containers, overseas, shipped in containers overseas. And then it's brought to the market. It's like you're bringing all these things here. That's what she does. She is like the merchant ships. She bringeth her food from afar. Proverbs 31:15 reads, it says, she rises also while it is yet night and giveth meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. That is not a soft life. What she's doing is she's concerned about her household. And when it says meat there, it's like prey, kind of like a lion that's going out to prey, to bring they work in unison for the pride. That's what she's doing. She rises also while it is yet night and giveth meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. And it's not just for her, it's for others. This is Proverbs, the 20th chapter. Notice the principle here. It says, love, in 13, Proverbs 20:13 says, love not sleep, lest thou come to poverty. Open thine eyes and thou shalt be satisfied with bread. Right? Meaning you can't sleep all day. You can't be lazy. And she certainly is not. And she is a benefit to others. She's certainly a benefit to others. This is not a soft life. Let's pick it up in Luke, the 12th chapter. Luke, the 12th chapter. And notice again, I want to reiterate, notice this is really not talking about, clearly she's not dealing in adultery, but it's not even talking about that as far as her being virtuous, which is how that word is usually used. Proverbs in English, Luke 12. Luke 12, and we'll read one verse here. In verse 40, actually, this is a parable. It said, the Lord said, verse 42, who then is it that faithful and wise steward, whom his Lord shall make rule of his household, to give them a portion of meat in due season? See, because, people, your household is going to be in need. And it's not that she's obviously the only one doing it, but she's providing something. She's providing something. And so we will read out of context what Paul tells Timothy. He that provided not for his own, especially if his own household has denied the faith and is worse than an infidel. Well, that's talking in the context of widows. And certainly a man is going to provide for his household. But that doesn't mean that his wife's like, yeah, you're right, go and provide. And she puts her feet up and does nothing. Because she's trying to build the household as well. She's helping him. She has to be a benefit. If she's not a benefit in your life, why is she in your life? That's the question men need to ask. And they actually should have asked that question before they make that woman a part of their life. How is this woman going to be a benefit? How is she going to help me fulfill my purpose? What is she going to do? How is she going to help build the household? One way in which a woman does, think about what women did. Even in farming and pastoral societies, the women weren't sitting there with their feet up. That's why even in modern, and even in today, when you see people that still live in a more an older way, and when I say older, not in an urban way, but they're in agriculture. You look in other cultures where polygyny is something that is a part of their culture. They will say you need to bring another woman in here to help build this up. There's so much work. I'm pointing that out to say that there was always work to be done. You're not sitting up there with your feet up, you with your red bottoms on and keep thinking about, you're looking on the line to see when you're going to buy the next Chanel purse. I saw a woman, and I said, this can't be real. So many videos out here with YouTube. I said, this can't be real. They're getting evicted. He said, what is this? And these men keep recording this. That's why I wanted to say, are you just that weak in your household to where you don't have control of things? And I'm specifically your woman, or is this just a skit? But it didn't seem like it. He had an eviction letter, and we about to get evicted, and she went and bought a $1,000-$2,000 purse, and that she hadn't paid the rent that he gave her. Well, I wanted a purse. I said, this can't be real. But then again, you talk to people, you look at things, you just observe. I do a lot of observing. I stay out of trouble and just observe. And I say, well, and sometimes you hear things that are so outrageous, Yeah, we've been set up. We've been set up and bamboozled. This is so she rises also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household and a portion to her maidens. So her maidens are the females in her household. Servants, they also have what they would need. She considereth the field and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planted the vineyard. So some would say, yeah, see, she's doing it, she's industrious, she's doing it. Yeah, but is that for the benefit of her only? Like I said, is her money, is your money her money, and her money her money? Your money is a man, her money, and her money, her money. Is that how that's working? Or is this for the benefit of the larger collective? It says she considered the field, and notice what she did. We want to talk about work, and she said she considered the field and buyeth it. So she was doing some things already to make that possible. And then with the fruit of her hands, she planted the vineyard. So you just don't have a vineyard. She was out there working in that vineyard. That doesn't mean she was working for somebody else. But she was working for her household. She considered the field and then does the work, gets her hands dirty, and like you asked a woman today. I hate to say this, but I heard a sister in the word. Her husband actually, this man taking care of you. He's doing this. And like she didn't want to make him a sandwich. She wanted to make him a plate. I was like, wow. I said, man, that's something. But this woman had a totally different mindset. Okay. It says, she girdeth her loins with strength and strengtheneth her arms. See, this goes along with being valiant as well, because that's what this virtue is not the word. Okay, again, Kaila is the word is different from how we would normally look at virtue. So it says she girded her loins with strength and strengthened her arms. Okay, she perceiveth. Then it says she perceiveth that her merchandise is good. Her candle goeth out by night, goeth not out by night. So again, she's working extremely hard. And then it says, she layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. Okay, so now that's another form of work that she's doing. Okay, so she's working hard and she's doing this work. Then notice this. What else? In verse 20, it says, now we're getting further into her character. It says she stretcheth out her hand to the poor, and yea, she reaches forth her hands to the needy. Wait a minute. So she has compassion. So now I'm gonna be honest with you. What women are you seeing? And I'm not saying it's not happening, but when men are looking for women, are you considering how this woman is treating other people? Because how she treats other people is how she is going to treat you. Okay? Is the woman genuinely nice, or is she running game? Right? This woman is concerned about other people. It says in Ephesians, the 4th chapter, I'm going to just read this here in verse 28. It says, let him that stole steal no more, but rather let him labor, working with his hands, the thing which is good, that he may have to give to him that needed. Now in this case, that's somebody who's changed their mindset. They've been converted. She has that mindset. She has some concern with others. It's not all about her. Even when you look at what really feminism has done. I did a lesson, not that long ago, some months ago now, about a Sabbath lesson about feminism and what it has done to women. Like, the Lord is not a feminist, right? It's not that you would set your life up in the sense where, I got my job and what I want, and that's in the forefront, like it's a plate, like your job is the steak, your friends are the potatoes, right? Your rice, if you would, that's or whatever vegetables here, that's your trips and your hobbies and everything you want to do. and got something else. You got that's your education, and then off to the side, that little garnishment, that piece of garnish, that's your husband and all, and in your life. That's not the case. That's not the case. A woman is supposed to basically be a helpmeet. It's not basically, she is a helpmeet of a man. Helping him fulfill his purpose, helping him build his household. Okay? And ultimately, it should be about other people. It should be about not yourself. Just like a man is supposed to sacrifice for a woman. But if everybody's operating in selfishness, you can't build anything together. So now this is it says, she stretches out her hand to the poor, yea, she reaches for the hands to the needy. So now she is concerned about the well-being of others. Okay? And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm old enough to remember women like this. Well, sometimes you would run into older women, if you knew older women in the community, maybe you had them in your family, and they had so much love within them and charity, which is love for other people. And they carried themselves in a particular way, a dignified way, but they were concerned about somebody else. Take such and such a player. I know they don't have much. And the person they're giving it to, they ain't gonna get nothing back for that. They're not gonna get, it's not like they're gonna, I know they're gonna shoot me some money. No, they knew they didn't have anything to give, but they were worried about them. They were worried about kids they saw in the neighborhood. Give them something, because they just had that in them. This is that kind of woman. Again, you're not seeing that today. But so they had enough love for their husband. They had enough love for their own children. They had enough love for other people. So now this is it says in verse 21, it says she is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. What that's saying is that she's ensured that her household had the things that they need. It's kind of like a modern woman today. I've seen kids, little kids, they out, it's dead of winter, they're not dressed right. I've seen little babies, dead of winter, like they don't even have a proper blanket on. But a real wife would be like, They had you out where you could bear the cold. Why? Because they love you. Okay? So now it says, she maketh herself coverings of tapestry, that's bed clothing. Her clothing is silk and purple. That's her clothes. So she has what she needs. Then it says again, in verse 23, her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. Okay, so now let's go to Ruth, the 4th chapter. Let's go to Ruth again. Because Ruth was a virtuous woman, and she's not the only one. There's a number. Abigail was a virtuous woman. Rebecca was a virtuous woman. This is Ruth 4 and verse 1. Ruth 4 verse 1. It says, then went Boaz up to the gate and sat him down there. And behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by. Unto whom he said, oh, such a one, turn aside, sit down here, and turned aside and sat down. That's when it's talking about you in front of the gate, like you amongst the judges, you amongst the elders in a particular area. And so and then he said, you'll be known in the gates because you have a certain type of wife. That's a part of it. That's not the only reason. Okay, this is Proverbs, the 12th chapter. And verse 4. Notice what it says. A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband. Right? So like it's like, the people look at your wife and say, well, he had a good wife. And see, it's one thing you can walk around and say, oh yeah, he's, people may say his wife is attractive, but it's a whole nother thing to have a wife that has character. That's a whole nother thing. Because how many men have quote unquote attractive wives and are miserable? How many of them had attractive wives, or they had attractive wives after they took half or destroyed their life? Why? Because you weren't looking at what you should have been looking at. So he said a virtuous woman is a crown to her husband. Then it says, but she that maketh ashamed is a rottenness in his bones. The wrong type of woman is like bone cancer. That's what it's telling you. That's what it's very painful. And like I said, you talk to some brothers and you understand they're going to have a very painful life. Why? Because they simply did not choose well, even when they had an opportunity. So now this is Proverbs 31. It says in verse 24, she maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchants. So she's in all kind of industry doing things for the benefit of the household. But notice, I want to make a distinction. I've alluded to this already. It is not necessarily that she's doing this for some, like at a job necessarily for somebody else, and then can't come home and then listen to what her husband is saying, because the things that she's doing here, she's doing it like the women of old, that they would do some things and they would take those things to the marketplace, right, and then bring those things home to their family. But they wasn't under Bob as their manager. She getting him coffee, she getting him dinner. Next thing you know, she getting her. That's not what the case is. It says, strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. Then it says something here, something else that's key. It says, she openeth her mouth with wisdom. Okay. Then it said, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. So what is she speaking? As it says in the Bible, as a man thinketh, so is he. You know, what you think about, that's what you are. It also tells you about the tongue, and if you can bridle the tongue. Right? Because your words rather come based on your thoughts. So what are you thinking? What are you saying? And you could tell what's on somebody's mind if they speak. And oftentimes, and particularly, I hate to say it, it's just a reality. It is not uncommon if you look a particular way, you have not been forced to develop character or wisdom or intelligence because of looks and the way has been paid for you. But then you speak, you say you don't have really anything wise to say. But it's ignorance. And it's one thing to be ignorant that you just don't know. It's a foolish to speak about things that in a very ignorant way that you don't know, without qualifying it by saying, hey, you know what, I'm not sure, but this is perhaps, or just be silent. But no, just speaking out of emotion or out of being brutish is unwise. But this woman has some wisdom. This woman has some wisdom. It reminds me of this is a movie reference, but you remember X when before Denzel, he was at some meeting perhaps, and Betty's before they got married, she was walking past and she said, Brother Minister, I want to ask you, do you know what Harriet Tubman did on her journey? And she was freeing slaves. He said, no, sis, what was that? He said, she ate. And then walked away. It was like, the brother said, she's interesting. Why? Because what she knew that because she was all about health and nutrition and a nurse. So she was about that. That's wise. She said, because you ain't delivering nobody unless you in some kind of optimal health. And certain things are necessary. That's wisdom. So you think a woman like that, if she has it on her mind, she knows that about Harriet Tubman, that she's not going to give your children the proper nutrition. She's not going to make sure you have the proper nutrition. You understand? That's wisdom. Just like this woman here, she's ensuring that her household has everything that they need. Even extended, like I said, even the maidens. But it says she opened her mouth with wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. So now we still in Proverbs. Let's go to Proverbs, the 16th chapter. And words are very important, the words that you speak. And to have a woman that has some wisdom, that's a beautiful thing. Because notice what it says here. It says in verse, I'm going to pick it up at Proverbs 16 and 23. It said, the heart of the wise teacheth his mouth, and addeth learning to his lips. Pleasant words are as in honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and health to the bones. Not a rottenness to the bones, but health to the bones. Right? That's what you want. That is what you want. This is let's go to, give me 1 second here. I want to go to another place in the New Testament. Actually, let's keep reading. Verse 26, 27. It says, she looketh well to the ways of her household and eateth not the bread of idleness. So she's concerned about her household. Now let's go to Titus in the New Testament, Titus 2 and verse 3. And notice what it says. Well, Paul in this epistle to Titus, what he's saying about the aged women, because you should have some wisdom that comes with age. It says, the aged women, likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness or sanctification. Not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God be not blasphemed. They're concerned about their household. They look to the ways of their household. This is not a soft life. It's not like a virtuous woman sit up at her feet in the air. Oh, let the nanny get it, let the maid get it, let the butler give it. If anything, she'd be managing that. If anything, she's got to be a benefit if you had those things. But now she says, or excuse me, rather, it says in Proverbs 31 and 27 again, she looketh well to the ways of her household and eateth not the bread of idleness. She's not doing that. See, she's all about building her household. I'm gonna read this in Proverbs the 14th chapter. Proverbs 14 and verse 1, it said, every wise woman buildeth her house, but the foolish plucketh it down with her hands. See what a wise woman does? She's gonna build her house up. She's not gonna destroy it. The question is, men need to ask themselves is, what kind of women do you have? Or what kind, if you're not married, what kind of woman do you want in your life? You want a virtuous woman. And she is, again, her price is far above rubies. They say, who can find one? Especially today, this society is not producing virtuous women. It's not like you can go in a church and just assume because you're in some church, you're going to have a virtuous woman. That is not the case. That is not the case. Even when they say he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing, as if, oh, you found a wife, oh, you just got married. That is not what that's saying. That's not what that's saying at all. And another thing, you could have the title of wife, but not actually functioning as a wife. Because what is a wife? What is a Isha? That is, she comes from man, and a man's helpmeet. To do what? To fulfill his purpose. One who is to be in submission. One is to, what again, it is not even about you as a woman. You from man. Your whole ultimate purpose is wrapped up in a man. But the women today say they don't need a man. How is it you came from a man? Your identity is associated with a man. You can't, we have it confused. We have it confused. So let's go back to Proverbs 31. We're almost finished here. And peace to everybody that's listening. Proverbs 31 and verse 28, it said, her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, he praiseth her. Right? Then it says, many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful. Now, the favor he's talking about here, when favor is talking about, the word is talking about charm. Okay? So that again, I talked about this earlier. I alluded to this phrase. I said this phrase, running game. And sometimes women can run game for years. Favor is deceitful, and then people often, quite frankly, men don't pay attention to the signs and see what they want to see until it's too late. But it says favor is deceitful. Then it says beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, okay, a woman that feareth Elohim, it says she shall be praised. Okay, so now let's go to 1 Peter real quick. Because again, you have to have a certain character. Actually, let's pick it up in Proverbs. Before we go there, we'll deal with this beauty. Proverbs 11th chapter. Because like I said, beauty, sheer beauty, true beauty is rare. But being pretty or attractive or cute, you see that all the time. What you don't see is women of high morals and integrity. Proverbs, the 11th chapter and verse 22. Notice what it says here. As a jewel of gold in a swine's snout, so is a fair woman which is without discretion. So he's saying a woman that is pretty but doesn't have good judgment, right? Or taste even, is like a swine with a gold or earring in his nose or snout. That doesn't go together. That's a bad look. Now, that was I'll just be honest, that was my pet peeves. Growing up, man, may look a certain way, but if your attitude is all funky, I don't even want to be in your presence. Let's pick it up. Let's pick it up at 1 Peter, the 3rd chapter, and verse 4, because here, 1 Peter 3 and 4, because here Peter's telling us about a woman's character. Notice what it says here. In verse 1, it says, likewise, ye wives, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may without the word be won by the conversation on the manner of living by the wives. All right, so that's the context here. Those women that are believers that has a man that does not, maybe he can be pricked in his conscience by your righteous, upright behavior. It says, while they behold your chaste conversation coupled with fear. Okay, so you're ultimately operating in that way because you fear the Lord. Because you know truly what he's telling a woman to do. Be in subjection to her husband. He's telling a man what to do. You need to provide and protect your wife. Protect and provide for your wife. Everybody had to play their position. But then, or should. It said, who's adorning, let it, now it's talking about her outward appearance. Let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold or putting on of apparel. Now, first of all, you have some that would say a woman can't braid her hair, a woman can't wear jewelry and all these things. Listen, we just read a virtuous woman. She's clothed in scarlet. Fine linen, right? Purple. She had all these things, right? We don't find anything in the Torah that said a woman can't wear an earring, right? Matter of fact, you look at dowry. Look at the dowry that the servant, we didn't read it all. Look at the dowry that the servant gave to Rebecca, gave her jewelry. It's not no sin in law saying you can't wear that. So what is being said here? He's saying that should not be your focus. See, if you live in a soft life, that's your focus. But that's not the life of a virtuous woman. Because a virtuous woman is going to be a benefit. And she's going to be the type of woman that everybody knows she's a benefit. That's a good woman. You probably have, even in your family, even though they ain't in the truth, you have some women that's worth their weight in gold. And they were good wives, raised decent children. When I say decent, they gave them the things, basic things that the children would need. Okay, I give an example. It's certain women that I didn't know in my family that my father tells me about all the time. He don't tell me about everybody. It's only like one. He tells me about a sister that she passed before I was born. He talks about her all the time, about how she acted, how she was upright, the things that she was able to accomplish, how she behaved. She wasn't in the word, but she did have certain characteristics that when I read Virtuous Woman, she would fit those. But now it says, whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold or of putting on of apparel. Notice what it is all about. And brothers need to take heed to this. And sisters need to work on developing this. Is that saying if men don't need to develop anything? No, I'm not saying that. We're just dealing with virtuous women right now. It said, but let it be the hidden man of the heart, and that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which is in the sight of God of great price. So you need some humility. You talking about you want to live a soft life and you ain't a benefit to nobody. If he ain't doing it, he got to pay for this. He wanted me to go out. He has to at least pay for me. Let me just keep it real with you. He had to pay my rent to date me. He had to do this to date me. Why would he date you? You want to go out with me? You need to at least be paying for my hair, my nails. You know, I got to get my perfume. You got all this money you got to pay to be. And then they say, well, that sounds ridiculous. Oh, you just broke. And then you want to pay me? You at least need to pay for my kid's babysitter. Do you understand that certain things that you can do in your life actually disqualify you from being a wife altogether? The reality is you got women that are barely concubine status talking about they are virtuous women or that they are wife. How? You don't fit any of the character. You can't compare your life and how you behave to Sarah or Rebecca or Abigail, or Ruth. You're not fitting these descriptions of the picture that is painted by the words and the wisdom writings in Proverbs 31. How was that? I would venture to say, and this is going to sound harsh, I think currently this is these, particularly in the Western world, I have to say these are the worst. Probably are these the worst women in human history? Certainly, I'm not talking about American history. Collectively, now people get maybe upset with that, but when I think about the ways in which women are behaving and what feminism has done, that's why I know it's satanic. When I say that, I'm talking about feminism. What has happened to women? You know, you can't be these great women and 1/3 of women have abortions. You can't be these great women when you have the high rate of having men, babies by several men if you have multiple children. You can't be great women with the high rates of STDs, the low rate, 5% being virgins at marriage. You can't be the best women with the mentality that's being portrayed and exhibited by women, black, white, and otherwise. That cannot be the case. You know, men need to look at the proper examples of manhood in the Bible and meet those examples. And look at what the law says a man is supposed to do. Women should do the exact same thing. So me calling it out, I'm just calling out what I see. And not just what I see, what data says, what statistics say. So yeah, you know, take that t-shirt off, talk about Proverbs 31 woman until you actually are a Proverbs 31 woman. But nevertheless, it says, for after this manner, in the old time, the old women, see, he's going to take you back to the old days. You're not seeing these women today. I mean, basic stuff women used to do. You're not seeing that today. You're not seeing Big Mama that care about the whole family, that kept the family together. You're not Big Mama. Big Mama ain't nowhere around. Grandma don't even call her grandma. She don't want to be no grandma. And matter of fact, she ain't married. She got a quote unquote friend, a couple friends that come by every now and again and don't have any example to give you, any wise sayings to give you. You going to the club, she talking about where we going. This is all messed up. But then it says, for after this manner, and meaning the same way in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God adorned themselves. What are they doing themselves? In a meek and humble spirit. It said, being in subjection to their own husbands. This is going to take you back. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, which is to say, calling him master. She didn't call him the N-word. She didn't call him good for nothing. She called him master. It says, whose daughters ye are, as long as ye do well and are not afraid with any amazement. So now you think of just giving an example of this and how she was totally concerned about her husband. First of all, when you look at when he told her to do something, she did it. He said, quick, make this. You got to entertain some people. She made it immediately, right? She did it immediately. He said, say this. She said it, right? Even when she couldn't have children, she said, take my handmaiden and have children through her. Now, most women believe they own the man. No, you belong to him. And she was all about building his household, as was Leah and Rachel. I point that out because that is born out of a particular particular mindset of selflessness that is not exhibited today. See, the virtuous woman, and another thing, the woman wasn't soft. You understand? She was, this so soft, like she wasn't a soft virtuous woman. It says she's strong. These women, now you look at what Rebecca did, with the strength of her arms. I'm gonna get you something to drink. Hey, I'm gonna feed all your camels. These are women who exhibit, because of their character, they have production. It's not even about them. For them, it's not about them. It's about others. Last place. This is Proverbs 31 and verse 31. It says, give her of the fruit of her hands, let her own works praise her in the gates. See, that's what a actually righteous woman looks like, a virtuous woman looks like. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to remind you that we at the Household of Faith meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel. We also meet in Stafford, Virginia every Sabbath at 12:30 Central Standard Time. And the address for that is 153 Garrisonville Road, Stafford, Virginia at the Red Roof Inn. And that's what Brother Micaiah is teaching every Sabbath. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to say peace to everybody and all praise to the Most High for any edification. That's always my prayer, that you will edify.